Hello and welcome back. This is video 2 in my little Halloween series of 2023. So across the month of October, I'm going to upload 3 videos that are associated with Halloween. The first is already out. This is the second installment, and this is about scary plants and folklore. I've picked 5 plants that have a history and a folklore that is quite, I guess, Halloween-y, scary, interesting, spooky. So this is going to be a pretty relaxed talking video telling you all about the history of these amazing plants. So grab a cup of something, a drink or beverage of your choice, or don't, grab a snack and just sit back, relax, and I hope that you enjoy. If you enjoy my videos, please do subscribe, like this video, comment anything that you would like. That really helps my channel to move forward, and it really lets me know what kind of videos you guys enjoy. The first plant that is included in this list is actually garlic, Allium sativum. If you've ever had pasta, if you've ever had any meal in the world, you know what garlic is. Garlic is like one of the primary ingredients in so many different dishes. It is a really important thing for us. It is really important for health. It is great for inflammation. It is great for colds and flus. It is great for so many different things, but it has an incredibly long and interesting history. Garlic has long been associated with demons and the devil. In old writings about the Garden of Eden, it has long been said that when the devil was cast out of the Garden of Eden, where his left foot stood, garlic plants sprung up. Where his right foot stood, onions sprung up. So they are kind of said to, I guess, repel demons, repel the devil. It was making the ground underneath his feet push him even further to get him out of the Garden of Eden. In olden times, people really believed that garlic would ward away evil spirits and demons, so they would often hang bulbs of garlic on their doors or in their chimneys inside their houses to keep them safe from these evil spirits. In the UK, it's often said that garlic can ward off the evil eye. And this evil eye was known as a curse that you could put on another person just by looking at them wrong. And I guess in 2023's version, we have like a death stare, or, you know, when someone is really pissed off at you and they give you that terrifying stare. People used to think that was actually a curse. That's how much it affected them. In Buddhist medical transcripts, they used to say that garlic came from the blood of a demon. Why it has such an association with demons and devils, I honestly do not know. It seems to be back in like some of the earliest writings, and I guess that's where it came from, but who wrote about it first? Who knows? It is used across the world in stories like this, and some countries that garlic has been written about in terms of devils, demons, evil spirits, Satan, vampires include Egypt and King Tut. King Tut actually had a bed of garlic underneath him to make sure that there was no evil spirits getting in there in the pyramids. Russia, China and Malaysia, India, Palestine, Greece, Romania, and the list goes on. There's so many associations with garlic, I really don't know where this came from. But as I just noted, probably something that you would have heard about is garlic and vampires. It has been written about in so many different stories about garlic repelling vampires and vampires being afraid of garlic. So people that were afraid of vampires used to hang it again on their doors to make sure that vampires could not enter and drink their blood. In the book Vampires and Vampirism by Montague Summers, which was one of the oldest writings of vampires ever, it was often said that when a vampire was decapitated, which in some writings was the way to kill them, their mouth would be stuffed with garlic, and garlic would be stuffed in and around the coffin as well. So this was basically to make sure that they would not ever wake up and start drinking blood again and causing havoc. Garlic, very interesting, very long history. I guess in some ways, because it is so important and it's so good for your health, I wonder if that's why people thought it was this like amazing thing that had this power to get rid of evil spirits. And often when people were sick back in the day, they used to think that it could be a curse or it could be the demon inside you, when like really you just had the fucking flu. I don't know, but very interesting. The next plant I have wanted to talk about on this channel for quite some time because it is such an interesting history, and that is deadly nightshade, also known as Atropa belladonna. Linnaeus discovered this plant in 1753, and belladonna means beautiful woman or beautiful lady. The reason it had this name, beautiful lady, is because it was actually really popularly used by women back in that time, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, because of its toxic nature, which we're going to get through. If women ingested it or used it in makeup or skincare, that their pupils would become really dilated. Basically, they would be really high, and back then, dilated pupils were a sign of a woman who was really seductive, who had these kind of sexual enticing nature. It was also used by Venetian women to redden their cheeks, which I guess now we know as blush as well, which is super interesting because the fruit is a very dark kind of purpley red flower, purpley red fruit. Until it was kind of discovered that this was extremely poisonous. I mean, it's called deadly nightshade for a reason. It is part of the nightshade family, which also includes mandrakes, also very poisonous and toxic, but it also includes things like tomatoes and stuff like that. So there are also nightshades that aren't as poisonous, but it is a really interesting family. I think it's called the Solanaceae family. But yeah, because of its toxic nature, it was also used or said to be used as a poison by witches and sorcerers. So this plant includes toxins known as atropine and scopolamine, and these are highly toxic and cause paralysis, severe hallucinations, delirium, confusion, convulsions, and death. So pretty intense, pretty terrible. Also, they believe that, you know, this whole association with witches and flying on broomsticks and things, they actually believe that the witches used to ingest deadly nightshade and they used to have these delusions of flying when actually they were just really, really high, and that's why they thought that they were flying. I don't know if that's true, but I think that is absolutely fascinating and really quite funny. The Roman military used to make a paste out of deadly nightshade and used to have poison-tipped arrows for their archers, and this was used across centuries and was used in many battles. Some really famous people back in the day that were thought to have been killed by poison made from deadly nightshade include Macbeth, King of Scotland, Emperor Augustus of Rome, and Emperor Claudius, also of Rome. Very popular with the Romans. I'm not quite sure why that is. I guess it must grow a lot in that area. I know that it does grow also in the UK. Not sure about Ireland. Yeah, it was pretty popular back then. After its dark history with poison, it was discovered to be quite useful in terms of medicine. Obviously, when doses are controlled and people could understand what was actually inside the plant, what these toxins were, and the effect that they had on the human body. Deadly nightshade can be used in certain medicines for pain relief, muscle relaxers, anti-inflammatory medicine, and to cure whooping cough and hay fever, which is very interesting. So that is a brief overview of deadly nightshade. Next in the list is nettle, Urtica deuica, something I am incredibly familiar with, and any of you that live in the Ireland or UK region, you should be quite familiar with nettles. And the reason I say that is because also known as stinging nettles. Nettles grow absolutely everywhere here, and they hurt. They do sting you. There are tiny little hairs on the plant. They have these serrated edges on the leaves and they sting your skin basically. And they actually inject something called histamine into your skin, and this causes quite a lot of irritation. They're itchy, can be red. The more that you itch them, the worse that it gets. and so on and so forth. I don't think you have them in the US or anywhere like that, so that's what it is known as. So in Ireland back in the day, people used to think that the serrated edges and the tiny hairs on nettles were actually called the devil's pitchfork. So it was so painful that it was an attack from the devil on you. It has some positive and negative associations in folklore. It was also thought to actually get rid of the devil as well at the same time, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. They used to use it in protective charms, and they used to think that it could basically protect you from spells and curses put on you by witches and sorcerers. And if somebody thought that a person was bewitched or cursed, nettles would actually be placed under their feet. Don't know if they were stationary or if they were walking, but they used to place nettles under their feet, and this was said to protect them from being dragged through the ground to the other world. Which is, I mean, pretty terrifying if you actually thought, that these things would genuinely happen, if you thought that somebody could look at you wrong and place a curse on you, if somebody thought that you had a curse from a witch and that they would drag you down through the ground. Like, all of this stuff is so terrifying. Like, think about the collective trauma that may have been around. If you've seen my other kind of folklore videos, particularly the one on the Banshee, like, all of these things were going around at a very similar time, and all of these things are quite terrifying. Like, people were really, really afraid of things that they fully believed in, and also things that they didn't understand, like plants, like certain plants that were spiky or stinging. Like, they just didn't know what it was, so they were like, oh, clearly it's the devil. Clearly the devil is trying to attack me via this plant. Like, it's crazy. So in Ireland, they used to say that a traveller going through the landscape would recognize a place that was cursed by an elder tree, a lonesome calling corncrake, which is a bird that was once quite widespread and has an amazing call. I encourage you to go and look it up, but are now nearly extinct because of land use changes and loss of habitat, basically. So a lonesome calling corncrake, an elder tree, as well as a dense thicket of nettles. So they thought that these three things together would say this place is cursed. The next plant I would like to talk about is the blackberry, or what I think we more commonly call bramble here in Ireland. That's what I would call it. It is known as Rubus fruticosus, and they are berries that are black and you can eat them. But in the UK and British folklore, as well as I think some Irish folklore, they are also known as the devil's fruit. The devil is coming up again. So on the 29th of September, which is actually, I believe, the day I'm filming this video, this is known as Michaelmas Day. And apparently you should not eat blackberries after Michaelmas Day, because this is the day that Saint Michael cast the devil out of heaven. And the devil apparently fell out of the sky and he landed in a blackberry bush. Now, blackberry bushes do have thorns. This will hurt. This will definitely hurt you. They have very spiky thorns. They will not sting you, but they will prick you and they're quite uncomfortable. You would not like to be running or falling anywhere near a blackberry bush. But apparently the devil fell in this bush and he got so pissed off that he cursed the berries. He then breathed fire on the berries and scorched them. And then just to top it all off, he urinated on them. Just pissed on them, basically. Rendering, obviously, the berries not very appealing to eat. And so this day is marked as the day you should not eat blackberries after this day because of that. And apparently, because of this, it is also known as National Poisoned Blackberries Day. Now, I've seen quite a few people talk about this, and I've seen it in articles. One page even said it was a US national holiday. I couldn't find evidence that it was actually true, but apparently it is something that people talk about. Interestingly though, despite all of that negative association with the devil and all of this stuff, blackberries are also known for protection and warding off evil spirits yet again. If you've seen some of my other folklore videos, you might know that Irish fairies, while they sound quite nice, are actually quite terrifying things. And in history, fairies were known as kind of beings that would curse you. You'd have to do everything the way the fairy wants you to do it, or they would basically F up your life, or they would make your children sick, or they would place a curse on you. They were not something that is like a Tinkerbell or a positive association. They were terrifying things. So in Ireland, it was thought that if you ate the first blackberries of the season, you would be cursed, because these first blackberries were actually meant for the Irish fairies. And if you ate them before the fairies could get to them, they'd just curse you. Any further blackberries you would eat after that point would have grubs in them or have insects in them and make them very yucky. So the next plant is another one that I have been wanting to kind of talk about on the channel somehow, and that is hemlock water dropwort, or Oenanthe crocata. I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not quite sure. But this is a highly toxic and poisonous plant, and it grows in Ireland and the UK, and I have come across it in work. It grows on kind of the edges of rivers, streams, lakes, that kind of thing, and it is really important to understand what the correct identification of this plant is, because it is in the carrot family and it does look quite similar to some other species that are quite common and are not harmful, such as cow parsley and things like that. So hemlock water dropwort has a very interesting history. This plant is part of a group of plants that are also known to cause dead tongue, and I think that's because the toxins in these plants actually affect your speech a lot, and they make you not able to use your tongue, which is so terrifying. The toxins in hemlock water dropwort can cause nausea, dizziness, vomiting, blood in urine, confusion, convulsions, and unconsciousness. So these are highly toxic plants, and the toxin is called oanothoxin. So I assume that this comes with the scientific name, or it is very specific to this one plant. It was also known as the sardonic herb, and this is because it was said that European witches 2,800 years ago used this plant to mass kill a lot of elderly people in Sardinia. Why, I don't know, and I could not find that out, but apparently this was used as basically a poison because of its toxic nature. And so it was called the sardonic herb, but it would also cause something called the sardonic grin, which is so creepy and terrifying. And the sardonic grin was known as a characteristic, abnormal, sustained spasm of facial muscles that appeared as though the people affected were grinning in this kind of fucked up way. And this is because when you are affected by this plant, it constricts the muscles and it can cause asphyxia, or basically like being strangled to death. And because of all these convulsions, it creates something called the death grin, or the sardonic grin, which is just so awful and terrible and horrible. So yeah, this plant is, it's crazy. And in any places that I have seen it growing, in surveys and stuff like that, it's generally something that is, there's either signage about or is being managed. I have seen some in wild places where people wouldn't be, with obviously none of that, but obviously with people that don't know about the plant, it's very dangerous. You know, children playing or whatever, like it's something to be aware of for sure, especially if you are somebody that spends time outdoors. It's a very important thing to know about the plants in your area, and I would encourage all of you to, if you're someone that spends time outdoors or hiking or walking or just walking your dog outdoors in nature, there can be plants that can harm you. So you should be aware of them. So a lot of these plants have associations with the devil, with evil spirits, also with protection and warding off evil spirits and demons, but also with associations with poisoning and stuff like that. It is crazy to think back to those times and to think back to how people even first of all discovered these toxins and poisons, obviously probably in a very horrible way. and how they were used, and used against other people, used in wars, used in witchcraft, and all of this stuff. So that is it for this video. Those are 5 plants that have a very interesting and scary background and folklore, and it's something I really enjoy researching and learning about. I think all of this kind of history of plants is hugely fascinating. I hope that you do too. And if you don't, you probably didn't make it to the end of the video. If there are any plants in your area that are native, that are, you know, have this kind of deep history, either with religion or just a really interesting folklore, poisons and things like that, please let me know down below, because I would love to find out more plants that have this very interesting history and research them myself as well. So let's start that going in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like or a comment, or even subscribe if you want to see or be notified when I do make new videos, which is every Sunday, if you didn't know. So that is it for the second installment of my Halloween videos in 2023. I hope that you enjoyed it. I would like to say thank you very much to my lovely patrons as well for supporting me this month. Thank you so much to Michael, Amy, Grace and Yendi. Thank you so much for your support this month. It truly means the world to me. If you are interested in signing up to my Patreon, the link is on the screen, and it is also listed in the description of all my recent videos. And you can check out all of the bonus content and perks available for each tier. The next video in my Halloween series is going to be on some scary Irish folklore. So this is not connected to plants, but it is something that I tend to do around this time of year. Just give you a little background on some scary Irish things. If you liked my Banshee video, then you will probably like the next video. So that will be up next week. Happy Halloween, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye.